Hi, welcome back to our class, Nonverbal Communication. As graduate students, you've got a bachelor's degree already, and I'm appreciating the education levels that many of you have, the depth at which you look into issues, and I encourage you to keep looking in depth. And what we're going to examine today, having to do with physical characteristics and how they relate to nonverbal communication, is common sense. Let's just put it that way. Most of this stuff is common sense, and if there's one overriding theme I see here, it's that as we get to know somebody better, we tend to look past some of the initial red flags we may have had with the first meeting, the first 10 minutes with the person, the first week knowing the person. As we get to know them better, we see deeper. So a lot of what happens with our physical characteristics in the interaction, in that thin slice, that 3 seconds as we eyeball somebody and their posture, tells us a lot about their confidence levels and tells us much about their personality. That first handshake, the first hello, how are you doing, my name is, and we've already evaluated, a half a dozen things, a dozen things, and have intuitive evaluations taking their turn in the queue to tell our brain what they think of this person, and a lot of those turn out to be wrong, and it's wonderful reading I want to have us look at by another one by Malcolm Gladwell. He's got a new book out, and we'll get our hands on that shortly and have that in our class. Yeah, those first intuitions are uncannily accurate, but they also can really lead us in a wrong direction. And if we go that full step and judge somebody, I'm not going to have anything to do with this person, we could really miss out on something special, perhaps, if we would take the time to get to know people. Okay, we've got a picture here of actually one of my favorite musicians of late, is short for Israel. I can't pronounce his last name. He passed away a couple of decades ago, but if you're not familiar with this guy, look up a video on Over the Rainbow. He sings that song with his ukulele. He's Hawaiian, and just appreciate him. But at first glance, here's a guy who's overweight playing a ukulele. What is this, a comedy show? No, it's not. And as we get to know people, these things really tumble out. Our common sense picks up on them, and we're probably not as initially how am I trying to say this? Our initial evaluation of somebody often turn out to be incomplete, or if they're right on target, we like something else over here and we totally put that out. It's a non-issue anymore, and with many things it should be a non-issue. First thing people notice is, well, I said posture, but general attractiveness. Posture has a channel on its own, and there's a lot of advantages that come along with being attractive, and in fact it's worth doing that makeover. For men and women, the makeovers I think are really about the same, except men probably don't wear makeup. Not many of us. Some do. A little bit of makeup, touching up. I could darken my eyebrows every day, and that would probably help me. I could get in shape a little better, but we all need to be in shape, to exercise, to have the good posture. But even then, the right haircut. My wife encourages me to put facial cream on my skin because I'm 60 years old this year, and I've lived in the sun a lot of my life in Arizona, and it takes its toll on your skin. But there are things we can do in almost every aspect of our appearance that really help out our appearance. What we get for that, we're perceived as more intelligent by people, well-dressed, looking good, the right haircut, good posture, all of that. There are cultural preferences involved in terms of what looks good that we have to always keep in mind. And again here, people value these other attributes. You meet somebody, they're good looking, and we immediately like them, and then we find out, oh, they're not such a good friend, they're not dependable, too scatterbrained, whatever. We find out other attributes that are more important to us, and we weigh those in, and our scales, I hate to say it, scales of judgment tip one way or the other ultimately. And if we've taken the time to really get to know somebody, that final judgment that we will make, it's inevitable. You can say, I don't judge anybody. Well, no, we're evaluating people all the time, and you're not judging them. You're evaluating. But sooner or later, the judgment comes in. I like this person. I want to be friends with them. There's the judgment right there. That's not an evaluation. The evaluation is, this person's nice. They seem friendly. A judgment could follow. I'd like to get to know them better. And a judgment brings action. An evaluation just brings perspective. All right, attractiveness on the job. Yes, this is a good thing. It's why we dress up for interviews. It helps you get a job. It gets you better jobs when you look good, and it gets you higher salaries. These things are documented in the research. And if you're unattractive, you're going to face more discrimination, whether you're part of the dominant racial group in a nation or cultural group, or whether you're part of a minority group. It doesn't matter. If you're unattractive, you're going to just, well, we hire the good-looking person, and you can go take a hike because you're too tall and skinny, not muscular enough, and we like the guy that's just a little shorter and works out. And yeah, that's a kind of discrimination. And often this happens in the hiring process because people can't take the time to really get to know you. Really good interviewers tend to be able to do that, but it takes time to get to know a person and to get past, to set those non-issues off to the side. At first, they're issues. Persuading people. Attractiveness helps you do that. These days, the news is probably the area in our culture where we are receiving the most persuasive discourse that's in depth. I mean, there's advertising, but it's often just an image, just a line. This is persuasive, but they always use good-looking people in advertisements. But the news is where they tell you, well, this politician did that, and we think this is wrong, and we're judging them, and you should feel the way we feel. Well, that newscaster, they're always good-looking. Newspaper writers, journalists are not always really attractive, but if they are, they often end up moving into video media to take advantage of that. Compliance gaining, that's a social scientist word for persuasion, getting people to do what you want them to do. Your sales skills, you get the more prestigious jobs, higher salary, we mentioned that. But persuasion brings those on too. And if you're attractive and you develop persuasion skills, being attractive just enhances them. It makes them stronger. Again, stronger during the initial stages of persuasion, and also related to your communication skills in general. If you're attractive but you're not really a good communicator, you're probably not going to be nearly as persuasive as you could be with working on your looks, doing that makeover, getting in shape, buying new clothes, nice clothes, the right clothes, not just what's in style, but colors that match your skin tone, colors that match the season, colors that match the industry you're in. You know, when I interviewed here at NAU, I've mentioned this a number of places, I went and bought a blue shirt to match NAU's colors. I wanted to look like I fit in here. Clothes are that important. Attractiveness, you have higher self-esteem. I thought this one was interesting, a study from a textbook we use in the lower level class. Got a copy of that right here on the desk if you weren't familiar with it. And you know, you can pick up an older copy. This is the 8th edition. I think they're in the 9th now. You could pick up a 5th edition. I've been using this textbook for a very long time. And even back then, the editions are just fabulous. Each edition adds just a little bit more research. But if we can master the basics, we're doing pretty good in a class. Criminals, less likely to be judged guilty when you're good looking. Imagine why these real scumballs wear fancy clothes into court. They look their best. They've got their hair all done up, slicked back, whatever, looking good in court. Lawyers know this stuff, and they get shorter sentences, another interesting facet. Come in wearing the prison orange with tattoos all over your face and messed up hair or really weird hair, yeah, probably going to be judged guilty and get a longer sentence, indeed, if you're guilty. But that's interesting, more likely to be judged guilty. That almost implies that some people get off just because they're good looking. Can you imagine that? Some things that minimize your attractiveness are interaction patterns, or one, just maybe you just don't communicate well. And as your personality unfolds in meeting a new person, these things take on more importance. If you don't communicate well, if you want to talk about yourself all the time, if you're not a good listener, yeah, these interaction patterns like that minimize your attractiveness. The stage versus the living room. Let's say the stage is you're dressed up, you're out someplace, you're there to be noticed, and yeah, we all look more attractive there. We probably tend to dress up for the event, but also just that environment around you enhances your attractiveness. Living room, maybe not so much. In the home, especially if your house is a mess, is sloppy. If you have a nice house with a beautiful living room, nice furniture, yeah, we're back to maximizing your attractiveness. Rural versus the city. This one's interesting, and a lot of this may depend on you as a person evaluating somebody's attractiveness. You like the country better, or you like maybe the city, but there's some cities, downtown Paris, there's a scene from the movie The Devil Wears Prada, where Anne Hathaway is on a date with this attractive young man who is doing his best to seduce her, and they go for a walk around downtown Paris, and the romance of the city just gets to her there. But there's other times, a walk in the forest with somebody you care about, and they just look better in that setting. These things all come into play. Alcohol's an interesting one, I thought. Here this guy on the couch drinking his beer, not looking very attractive there. He's got the alcohol, but if he's the one drinking the alcohol and drinking enough, there's that old standby, that saying we have, the girls all get prettier towards closing time. It was a country song. Yeah, the more alcohol you've had, the later it gets in the evening. There's that assumption goes with it, more alcohol. People do look more attractive when you're under the influence of alcohol. Attractiveness is a fascinating thing when you start looking at it with more social scientific methods. This guy in the middle here, of these 6 photos, that's the composite image. We've got 6 different people, 6 very different faces, and we have these fabulous computers now that can just blend them all together. And then here's this very nice looking guy with a very symmetrical face. So symmetry is a big factor in attractiveness, in our evaluation of someone's attractiveness. There are several ways to evaluate how symmetrical the face is. I think I found 3 different patterns here. This should be in high def. I think you can see these on your computer screen. The one on the upper left of the screen appeared a lot of times in the image search I was doing, and I just kind of like that one. I think that one captures something about the angles and the symmetry are all balanced, and your subconscious does funny things with these angles of the face, and the nose, they're opposite, but it's the same angle, and then as well, just the spacing, high to low of the face. And I think the one on the far right captures that, the young man there, and the one in the center. Also, it's not focusing on the angles as much, but it does show the angles that are there. Interesting, symmetrical face and asymmetrical face. Well, the guy on the right there, he's a singer, and people listen to him for his voice. Is that Lyle Lovett? Is that his name? Who married some very beautiful person? So he must be a very good singer. symmetry does make a difference, and it is probably the essence of what attractiveness is if you want to get down to the science of it. But also your body type. You've probably read about these 3 different body types. The endomorph, just the heavier set body with wider hips. Hips are a little wider than the shoulders there, but probably not due to skeletal structure. The mesomorph, just that nice balance of the body, the length of arms, and then the ectomorph, somebody who's just thinner and taller. It's interesting. Most of our models are probably, female models are going to be more of the ectomorphs, the tall, thin runway model, that classic, but they look great on the runway in the beautiful clothes, but as you get to know somebody who's into modeling, yeah, they really are. There's something in that career that traditionally, it's starting to change, has favored very thin women with the endomorph or the ectomorph body type. The mesomorph, probably more of the male models are like this. Now, and research does support these stereotypes. People think the mesomorph body type is probably more attractive, generally speaking. I think the runway model is just a different setting. And again, the glamour of the setting, the incredible makeup they wear, the fascinating clothes that they're displaying, it is just a celebration of beauty going on, but in a lot more ways than the body type of the model. Your body shape, ideal body shapes. Women, your waist should be 70% as wide as your hips. For men, it should be closer to 80 to 95% is considered most attractive. But, and this is encouraging, your face has a greater impact on people's as they evaluate their perceptions of your attractiveness. Height perceptions. Height typically gives a person advantages. It's considered more attractive somehow, maybe not too tall, like this fellow here. At some point, your height, 6'5", 6'7". The question always comes out, do you play basketball? And, well, no, I don't. I did, but I wasn't that tall. But your status, a lot of people with high status tend to be taller. Is it because it's the way people interact with you? And the taller status, if you've got the confidence to go with it and some talent, hopefully, yeah, it gives you an advantage at moving up in that world of business or the social world. Your height and attractiveness are related, although, Tom Cruise, I think, is considered pretty attractive. I suppose he's not a very tall man. Clint Eastwood wasn't a very tall man. My brother was actually an extra in the making of one of his Any Which Way movies back in the 80s, all the way back then. And he said they had him standing on a box at times to look taller as they shot various scenes. And he always comes across as like 6'4", and he's just not. Height and competence, increased competence assumed with your height. And maybe I've just been in the work world too much, feeling out of place being 6'1", a little bit taller than the average man. And typically, I don't know why, I've always been best friends with shorter guys. I'm not sure what that's about. But it's interesting. I always felt personally, now the research doesn't hold up there. Wish I was 5'7" or 5'8", like some of my friends. They had more dates in high school, and they could bulk up with the weights so much more than I could with this lanky, skinny body that I've got. So we have perceptions about all this. Research is showing them to be fairly accurate. There's a list of other things that affect our perceptions of your attractiveness. Just your hair. And again, it's important to have the right hairdo, the hairstyle, the right cut for you, for your body shape, for the shape of your face, something that looks good on you. And find a hairdresser that is artistic, and maybe you can tell by the way they dress as you walk into a salon, probably a salon where people make a little bit more money, not the cheapest haircut you can find, but go ahead and somebody with some experience also. But I think they need a sense of artistry to look at you and evaluate and decide, I think this would look really good on you. One of my best haircuts, I had a picture taken of me, and I carry that with me now on my phone, and I show it to the hairstylist, and yeah, this was 15 years ago, but can you do a cut kind of like that? And then do your thing. I trust you, and they can make you look good. Your clothes have effects on other people, and they see how you're dressed and how you walk in, but they also have an effect on you. I've got a blue shirt that I wear now and then, and a couple of my colleagues, female colleagues, have commented, "That's a really nice shirt. That color looks really good on you," or "You look good in that color." And yeah, when I wear that shirt, I'm just a little more confident probably, and I'm tending to pick out 2 or 3 more shirts of that same color when I go shopping as well. And so it has an effect both ways. The kind of clothes, the color of the clothes, the fit of your clothes. You want to look good here. It's just to your advantage. Jewelry are one of these things, and some of these we'll call artifacts in another section here. Jewelry, a watch, things that come on and off easily, a fancy phone, things you're carrying around with you. Yet other kinds of jewelry are a little more permanent. Obviously, the piercing would be, but even earrings, or the fact that you are wearing earrings because your ears are pierced and wear them all the time. But these things have an effect. Tattoos, I want to wind up here with just a discussion on tattoos, and I don't win any popularity contests when I talk about this, and even with my cousin, we had a long Facebook conversation about it. You can call me old-fashioned if you want, born in 1959. And the artist in me, as I look at people, I just think that human skin is beautiful to look at. Any shade, it's just nice, it's pleasant. And when you put a tattoo on the skin, I don't know, it's like you're using your body as a canvas for some artist to put their work on you that is expressing who you are as a person. Well, I have a problem with that as well. We create who we are by the things that we do and the choices we make. And we have some predispositions, we have talents and gifts, but who we are as a person, I get this tattoo of this skull with weird things on it to express who I am as a person. That's more about an attitude that you're carrying around with you right now. Tattoos are permanent. There's the problem. If you want to wear a shirt that has that, I may not like the shirt, that's fine. That's my problem. But when it's tattooed on your body, it could really become your problem. This guy here with his ex-wife tattoo, he had to have it altered, but that's not very nice to turn her into some kind of zombie witch on your shoulder there. I have an ex-wife, and I like to think we're very cordial with each other and would get along well, and I'll probably run into her in a supermarket one day, and we'll probably give each other a quick hug and talk about how life's going. And, but not if I have that tattoo on my shoulder. Tattoos are permanent, and the other problem I have with them is typically it's bad art by an artist that is just not fully trained in art. I have seen some neat tattoos that are done by creative people who have skill with their medium. I can appreciate those, and I don't think those are ever going to look bad on somebody. But let's just face it, 19 out of 20 tattoo artists have some artistic skill, but they're not, the creativity just may not be there. You're really taking a chance. I love that cartoon. I couldn't find it for the slide. The guy has a picture of the winged horse looking really cool, showing to the tattoo artist, and he's working on the guy's back and drawing this cartoon-looking horse that doesn't look cool at all on the guy's back, and it's on there permanent. I won't even need to mention what happens when you have an allergic reaction to the ink and how that can damage a person's skin. But just the art itself, too often, is just cheesy, unclassy kitsch. German word for junk. It's the word artists use for bad art. And you're going to put it on your body permanently. You know, maybe the henna tattoos are the way to go for you if you really want it on there, something that'll not be there one day. And once you get your first tattoo, then the tattoo artists, of course, want to just pile them on you. That's how they make their living. And so take care. Some people that have had some nice artistic tattoos I've known, one lady that taught Spanish at the university, all of hers could be covered up by normal clothes, but then she'd put on her tank top to show them off, or she'd have on a swimsuit if she was out doing other things. And they were nice. And for a while, the colors weren't very vibrant in tattoos. They're getting better at having good color. So they say a lot about you. Yeah, they express something, not necessarily who you are as a person, but what kind of attitude you had the day you got it put on you is probably more of what they express. They're permanent, and you may regret them one day, and take care with it. So just take care. People do evaluate you very much by attractiveness and appearance overall. And the more we can do to enhance our attractiveness, enhance our appearance, benefits us. And it's not like you have to become as good looking as your favorite actor or actress. Just stepping up your game a level can make a difference, and you will notice it and you will feel it. So, all right, ponder these things deeply, and we will talk to you in our next lecture.